Yeah, most
you,
people are referring to the strength standards in terms of like, I want to get to.
Yeah,
I want to get to this category,
and now I'm here. So what do I do now?
What program do I do? This table says I'm an intermediate. This table says I'm a whatever, and then they ask some question, not taking into account the all the things we've been talking about, the process and what's actually going on, and what is actually what are your numbers and what have your numbers been. It's just it's a simple thing that people can look at and make a judgment or make some decisions off of, rather than doing things the right way, which is looking back at your process and seeing where you are, and then doing whatever it takes to drive the next adaptation in the appropriate amount of time. Now, with that said, a lot of people have. I think the opposite. I think you believe this too, Rip. I think most people have a very low expectation of what they can actually do.
Most people do.
They don't have any idea. Like when somebody, especially when somebody starts training, maybe an underweight guy or whatever. Even big guys, they come in and they can't even fathom the idea of squatting 315.
Yeah.
I'll talk to guys who squat 240, and who don't really train that seriously.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them, they want to squat 3 plates, and I say, you do that in 2 months. Shit, it might be less.
Easily.
It might be less than that. And they're just like, their mind is blown, right? Because they just don't have any idea. They don't have any frame of reference.
The poor things just don't know. And the problem is nobody else is telling them but us.
Yeah.
Nobody else is telling them you can do way more than this right now, except us on this podcast and in the books and, on the forum and everything, where we, debunk all of this stuff.
If you're going to look at a table, look at it as consider where the data's coming from. It's probably coming from published powerlifting or whatever, right? Otherwise it's useless. Like, who the fuck if you're just making it up, that doesn't matter. And if you're also just kind of like surveying dudes, that doesn't matter. So consider that it's coming from specialized strength athletes, or from maybe not specialized, but people who are competing, in a strength sport. And then I'm perfectly comfortable with telling people, again, in terms of calibrating their thinking, if you're a guy over about 5'8" or 5'9", without specialization, because that's the thing that needs to come across. Without specializing, meaning you have other interests and hobbies, you don't want to make lifting the primary thing in your life, you should be able to press. It's just the classic sticker, right? You should be able to press 200 pounds, bench 300 pounds, squat 400, and deadlift 500. And that may take a year. It may take 2 years if you take your time, but it's perfectly reasonable to do that.
Anybody can get there.
Yeah, and if you're under 5'8", if you're 5'6", 5'5", 5'4", just adjust the numbers down to whatever, right?
Down,
take a plate off, whatever you want to do,
percentage, whatever you want to do.
Yep.
And the female numbers are equally predictable.
Right.
And the process is what yields that. Not you assigning yourself the goal of a 315 squat. Join us again this week on Starting Strength Radio, where we present to you a bunch of rambling bullshit that we just started talking to each other one day and here in front of the cameras, and we just recorded the conversation. There's some important stuff involved in this conversation. There's some stuff that's utterly and completely irrelevant. And I think, though, that you're going to be disappointed if you don't join us here this coming week for Starting Strength Radio.